Yeah, we're gonna leave it at that.
Yes. At the end of the day, I had things all set up for computer use, so I'm trying to just make sure my phone is situated now a little bit better.
Mhm.
But nonetheless, we're here. We made it.
Mhm.
Everything's great. So, well, welcome tonight to the show again, once again.
Mhm.
Tonight, our discussion is something that just goes hand in hand with what we're doing on a daily basis as
Mhm.
firearm instructors. So, welcome everyone, anyone who can hear and see us. Okay, thanks so much. Enough cries. Hello, hello. Thank you for joining.
Hey.
So when it comes to this whole world about firearms, you and I being
Mhm.
firearm instructors, it's so many things that we encounter day in and day out. And I got to
Mhm.
thinking about it. I said, hey, the fates of the people that I'm having train are actually looking a little differently than what they did like 10 years ago.
Right.
So I was like, let me talk to some other instructors that I know. So I have you, Miss Monique, here with me, and I have Miss
Mhm.
Asia, who's going to join a little bit later. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, YouTube hasn't given me the right to be able to put two of you guys up at once. So we're going to have to take turns at some point. But
Mhm.
I'm going to have you talk for a good while first, and then we'll switch places somewhere. And I'll let you know when that time is. Asia, will let me
Okay.
know who's in the chat and everything and available to talk to.
Okay.
But for anybody who is brand new to the channel, welcome to Shoot the Shush. And if you're joining us for the first time, please subscribe. Make sure you turn on the notification button. I'm Mrs. Trouble, and I have here with me Miss Monique. And we're both licensed firearm instructors, and our discussion today is very much around what our gun community is looking like these days. So
Mhm.
I'm not sure if you've noticed, Monique, but I know I have. Like, years ago, my average customer, if I had to describe my average customer, it was probably a mid age white guy. Now
Mhm.
it's like a multicultural woman, still
Mhm.
mid age, maybe a little younger.
Mhm.
So, and that's pretty much what I'm seeing these days. I'm seeing a lot of different races that's coming. I'm seeing
Mhm.
influx on women as well, and I'm also seeing a rise for the LGBTQ community. Please help me with that because I always get those letters mixed up.
Mhm.
um, and so when it comes to those things, it just made me think like, am I the only one? Am I seeing that? Is this happening?
Mhm. No, when I first started teaching in the civilian sector, um, most of my clientele were middle-aged white men, white women. Um, as time has gone by, it's been a big influx in women of color, which is Hispanic, Black, Native. It's a lot. It's a definitely been a huge turn. I would say around 2021,
Mhm.
2022 was when my demographic started to shift greatly. Um, so yes, you're not alone in that. I definitely seen a demographic shift. I still have the same demographics, but the percentage has now flopped just a little bit, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, James, for joining. And Life Matey, I think. Um, I'm not sure what your question is there. You might have to rephrase that one for us.
Yeah, can you revert that?
Yeah, yeah. But we're,
Mhm.
we're definitely happy to, answer any questions as we go through things. So definitely we appreciate you guys putting in the comments and communicating with us.
Which
But
what part of New York are you from? I'm sorry, I had to big up the New Yorkers.
yes. Yeah, when it comes to this whole diversity thing, I think it's really cool
Mhm.
because I know at one point I had a lot of customers come and saying they were really apprehensive about coming. If they were
Mhm.
anything other than Caucasian, their question a lot of times had to do with, am I going to be welcome in this environment?
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that's
Mhm.
a big deal, to go to somewhere that you would be welcome to be. And that is
Mhm.
something that the gun ranges that I go to and you go to, I feel like, yeah, I feel like it's accepted and there's no worries there. It's one of those things where it depends on what location you're going to, I'm sure. But as I
Mhm,
always had to tell people too, sometimes it depends on you just showing your ability of skill and knowledge. And then eventually the staff is kind of like, I think it's more so from a safety perspective
mhm,
because they have to be safe and they have to like kind of take a look and make sure everybody's being safe. So
mhm.
that might be the biggest worry that people might have had in the
Yeah,
past.
and it's a legitimate concern. I've dealt I can't say I've dealt with guns all my life because I'm from the Bronx as well, so guns weren't a thing. Like, if you had a gun, you were probably a cop or a troublemaker. It was no other way about it. Um, joining the military and being around guns, I found a passion. And understanding guns is there's some growth that happens with that, right? As I got out of the military and I started to take civilian classes, that was the same concern that I had, and rightfully so. The first few classes I took to get my instructorship, there was a lot of political talk. There was a lot of banter that did not make me feel comfortable in some of those spaces. But, as an instructor, I was like, listen, I'm here to get what I need to get and go. So I just kind of ignored some of those things. If I felt like I needed to say something, I was like, hey, listen, we're in here to learn. I'm not trying to hear all of that. Keep it moving. Right. So it's a legitimate and it's a valid feeling that they have, that should I be comfortable here? Am I accepted in these spaces? Because there are spaces that maybe not so friendly, right? But I will say a majority of my experiences have been, especially in the gun community, when people don't really care, besides the fact that, are you a 2A supporter? Cool, we good. you know? And I can't say I've had really any issues with any ranges that I've been to here in Virginia, because I was in North Carolina when I was getting my instructorship started. So, but yeah, a very valid point.
Yeah. That's,
Mhm,
I really appreciate you saying that, honestly. And I mean, I'm looking at the comments about how people have noticed that there are more diverse people coming to the range.
mhm.
And, even the comment about women with guns on the wrong day of the month is crazy work.
Don't do us like that.
Don't do us like that, Big Dad 444. Come on now. Why you coming for us? When it comes to that, though, I understand, though. I understand. I'm going to say that. But
Mhm,
realistically, at the end of the day, I really appreciate the fact that there are more women coming out to get firearm understanding and
mhm,
understanding that they are their first line of defense. I
mhm,
say all the time that, while I might be married to a man who is my protector, my husband is definitely my protector. If anybody's ever met my husband, they know that for the jump.
mhm.
And but the thing is, I know and he knows that he can't always be there every second of the day. And so there
Right.
are times in which I would definitely have to be my first line of defense. At the end of the day, he can't even know if there's even a problem until I have told him so. So it's one of those things where it's a matter of me knowing how to react and respond until I can get help on the way. So
Mhm,
even if it's not my husband in the equation, even if it's a dad, a cousin, a brother, or the police,
mhm,
notice I didn't say police first, and that tells you how I was
mhm.
brought up, right?
Right, right. But I
um,
mean, but to that point though, but to that
mhm,
point though, how long does it take the police to get to you if there's a problem,
exactly,
right?
exactly. Hmm.
So, give or take, on average, depending on where you live, if you're out in the country and the nearest police station is 20 miles away,
Hmm.
even if you live here, I live in Stafford, the police station is right there, but they're still taking at a minimum 10 minutes to get here, right?
Exactly, exactly.
You gotta factor in traffic, you gotta factor in if there's even a cruiser by your area, who's the
Hmm.
closest, dispatching. By the time they get here, whatever has already happened, and you're pretty much just briefing them on what just went down, right?
Right,
So
exactly.
being your own first line of defense is important, and this is what I try to talk to my students about. It's like, you don't always have to carry a gun to protect yourself, but you do need a source of protection in some way, shape, or form. right? Because you have to have a way to protect yourself with pepper spray, blunt force object, a firearm. There are many ways to protect yourself. Just don't be out here all willy nilly, like, oh, nothing's gonna happen to me. That's not how that works, you know. So,
Yeah, I hear you on that, and you're exactly right about that. It's so
mhm,
many. Another thing I think I've noticed too. Before I say that too, I want to say, Wish to Don, thank you so much for pressing the like button and subscribing and sharing.
mhm,
I appreciate
mhm,
that. And I also see Heckler. Thanks for joining again, Heckler. Definitely see you're of the Hispanic culture, and I can see how that can also be, anybody who's really honestly anything other than, white male, white female, they tend to have different, feelings about people having a firearm or being around a firearm. And it's
mhm,
really sad that that is the narrative. So I'd like to bring it to my next point, that there are stereotypes out there, stereotypes for different groups of people for various reasons. And at the end of the day, I mean, I think, Monique, you might be able to agree with me about this. All of us stereotype. It's a defense. It's
mhm,
something that is ingrained in us to say this group of people are more likely for this particular thing. And
mhm.
it's unfortunate that our media shapes that. So
Right,
yeah. So what are some of the stereotypes that you may come across in the gun community that you kind of like say, well, it doesn't really hold true all the time?
right. Um, I'll be honest with you, besides what I mentioned earlier about, my beginnings instructorship, I haven't really personally, and I can only speak for myself because I know it happens. Seen it, haven't had it happen to me. Besides, I take that back. Someone assuming I couldn't shoot until they shot with me. Sometimes men, and I'm not trying to get on y'all, but men will come in the range and see me unpacking my stuff. I got my timer here, I got my gun, I'm got my drills ready, and I go to shoot. And I get this random dude over my shoulder. Hey, if you do, sir, sir, please go away. I do
Right.
not like being. I do not like, especially when I'm training myself, because I don't get a lot of time to do it. Right.
Hmm.
So I set my hour to train to these drills to make sure I'm making these goals and these markers when I'm on the range. Do not bother me. I swear you see the other side of me. See all the colors of the rainbow that you never seen come out of my personality. Do not bother me while I'm on the range. Right. But
That's
in
too funny.
fairness, guys assume because as a woman, I'm not prone to doing well on the range, or I don't know how to shoot, or I'm gonna hold the
Right.
gun wrong, right? I've had to also show my other side and be like, "All right, cool. How about this? How about I take your gun, I'll shoot your gun, you shoot mine, and we shoot these drills, and we'll see who does better."
Right.
'Cause I like
Yeah.
a challenge, and most of the time they take it, and, lesson
I
learned,
feel so bad for them
lesson
who
learned,
take the challenge. You
and
guys
then I
got to
get
see
some
her shoot. Like she is awesome.
training in at the same time, but I think that's the biggest thing I've come across is the assumption that you see a
Hmm.
female or a woman and you think automatically that you need to help them. You don't do
Right.
that. You ask first, right? If I want your help, I'll ask for your help. But don't
Yeah.
assume someone can't shoot based off of their demographic. So that's what I've
Yeah.
come across.
And I'd have to agree with you. I've definitely
Mhm.
experienced the same thing. I've had some guys kind of like peeping, looking, and they're like seeing me shoot, and they wait for a while, and they say, "You're actually doing really good." The
Right.
the the, the actual is what gets me
Right.
because it's
Not a
like
compliment.
actually okay, I guess thank you.
Right.
Like that's why I'm here. I'm here to train just like you.
Right.
So it's one of those things. So DMV renovations, thanks so much for joining again. And yeah, she's my sister from another mother.
Right. Right. We
Yes,
resemble a little bit though.
yes. Yeah, but it's one of those things, definitely, like Enough Cries did say, sir, thank you, but no thank you. I
Right.
mean, at the
Right.
end of the day, yes. So me, I'm definitely not going to take the approach of the competition thing because I'm just not a
Mhm.
competitive person.
Mhm.
I'm more like just deuces. Have a nice life. Go on, stay over there. Stay over there. I'm gonna be focused right here where I am. My
Mhm.
tunnel vision on for that. and let you just see my work, and then you can see, do I need help? I'm gonna
Mhm.
let you answer your own question.
Right.
So I know one of the other stereotypes that I came across though as a firearm instructor, specifically a woman firearm instructor. I also do a lot of the coordination for my company as well as you, I know. So when it comes to the coordinating, people don't expect that the person who's answering the phone, being a female, is also going to be their instructor.
Mhm.
So it's a real big shock for them, like, oh, you're going to be my instructor? Okay, I'm going to have a female instructor. That's actually pretty cool.
Mhm.
That's usually the response that I get from a lot of guys. How about you?
Well, lioness defense kind of tells it. So when they call, you know,
That's facts.
they
That's
should know that it's going to be a woman instructor
mm-hmm.
on the other ends. I haven't gotten anyone that called me that did not know already that I was going to be a woman
Yeah.
instructor. So that's not been my experience.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That definitely makes a lot of sense. So I was thinking, like, why are we seeing this shift? In your opinion, why do you think we're seeing this shift of what the demographics looks like in the gun community?
Multiple reasons, starting with the education piece, right? As we evolve as people, we start to understand that not everything that we've probably been previously told is accurate.
Mm,
Or an assumption, right? We assume guns are not for women. We assume guns are not for minorities. These are things that we've either been told or have manifested in our brains about certain things in certain areas, right? So I feel like that piece has been addressed, largely addressed by the 2A community. So I
yeah.
feel that has contributed to the shift in the amount of minorities that do purchase firearms and are investing in their safety. I will also say that with each, and I don't like to talk about politics, but I will say with each election, every time an election comes around, there
Hmm.
is a massive influx of
Right.
minorities that are feeling unsafe.
Hmm.
And that's their verbiage, not mine, right? They say, I feel unsafe, I want to protect myself, I want to learn how to shoot, or it could be a qualifying life event,
Hmm.
divorce, death in the family due to gun violence. There's so many different reasons why those things happen, but I will say that it's usually when I see the biggest influx is during a political change, right?
Yeah. Or mass shooting.
Or
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
School
mass shooting.
shootings and mass shootings, yeah, those always render people scared and they're like, all right, well, I
Mhm.
need to protect my family, you
Right.
know? Yeah.
And I have to
How
agree with you about all of that. I mean, you're exactly right. I'm noticing those same trends during those times when there's mass shootings, when there is political shifts, especially when we're going directly for our border security type of shifts
Mhm,
in our political world. And like you, I'm not a political person, but these guns have made me like really focus on politics a lot. And especially having this channel, I have to keep my eyes open. People come on here,
mhm,
viewers come on here all the time asking questions and things. And I'm like, okay, I guess I better be a little bit savvy about some of the changes that's happening. But I also need to
mhm,
know for my own self anyway. The fact of
mhm,
being a firearm owner, you should have some political sense. And I know you're very knowledgeable of those things. So I'm just speaking in general. If anybody
absolutely.
is a firearm owner, they should definitely be very aware of the laws
Mhm,
surrounding your safety and
right.
how and when not to use that firearm. Because as you
Mhm,
said, political shifts come in and it changes things.
right.
So,
Laws change, what you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do. Even up to now,
mhm,
the intent is for you to be able to carry across all state lines, right? As of recently.
mhm,
That is what one of the
yes.
intentions are. That's going to take a lot of legwork, a lot of writing, a lot of law changing, and people have to understand, like, especially as a gun owner, when I tell my students, the class is just the first step. I'm telling you
Yeah.
what our federal laws are, and I'm telling you what Virginia state laws or DC or Maryland, right? Whoever I'm teaching at the time.
Mhm,
But you, as a gun owner, as a citizen of the United States that is allowed to purchase and own and carry a gun across state lines, you need to know the laws. Look up the
Yeah.
statute. It really, and I give them resources, right?
Mhm.
It's easy to forget that stuff. It's you walk out of
Yeah.
here and you don't remember what I said 5 minutes ago about whether you have reciprocity with Virginia and DC, which is a no. But you
Right.
know, um, which is a no, hard no.
Mhm.
Um,
Hard.
but we fail as individuals to take accountability for our lack of knowledge. As gun
Mhm.
owners, we don't have that privilege.
Correct.
As a gunner, you don't have the gun owner, you don't have the privilege to say, "Oh, I didn't know that." They're gonna say,
Mhm.
"Well, the DA knows that," right?
You're exactly right.
What do you do then? So I've always,
Mhm.
implore my students, go ahead and read. After we've done this, I've given you the keys to the city. Go ahead and open up the doors.
Yeah.
Learn, understand what's going on. Yes, I can post it, but you're not always gonna see that. The needs
Exactly.
be checked.
James, I'll try.
Oh, can we
Look,
just call you in the
I'm
lunch?
gonna try to go live. Yeah, I'm gonna try to go live and tell y'all when something changed. I'm gonna try
Mhm.
to.
I'm gonna need y'all to
So
open up
like,
those statutes very often here in the next few weeks. We'll say that.
yes, yes. Asia, if you are listening, just put in the chat box area so I know that you're in there, and then let me know if you're ready to go. I just want to be able to shift because I want to ask Asia some of these questions from a different perspective because
Mhm,
she also is a firearm instructor, but she also does not more so not civilian instruction. Normally, she's doing security
okay,
instruction. So
nice.
I wanted to get her points of view on that world, but why I still have you here, Monique, as a Marine when it
Mhm,
comes to the training there. Not to give the Marines any, secrets or anything like that, but I have noticed that a lot of Marines coming out, like you guys are like hardcore when it comes to guns. Like y'all know y'all stuff. I've personally never met a Marine that did not know how to handle a gun.
mhm,
And that's I'm like, I don't even know what MOS they are, or anything, but transferring that over into civilian life, have you
mhm,
seen any guys that have been able to also take that experience and be able to train their family members? Or is it still one of
mhm.
those things like, okay, even though they're able to use the gun, they're not able to really train their family so much?
I will start with this. If you can't break down information into the simplest form to deliver to somebody, you shouldn't be teaching them anything. Plain and simple.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yes, I've Marines come out and teach family all the time. I've done it, you know, and in hindsight, I had no business doing it, right?
Yeah.
Uh, you, when it comes to teaching somebody else something, you have to have the skill set and the ability to also teach yourself, analyze yourself, and fix yourself. If I can't do
Mm,
that for myself, then I definitely can't do it for anybody else, right? So you
exactly.
have Marines that come out that are firearms instructors, and absolutely, they can do whatever they do. The Marine Corps has a great program for instructors. But if you are qualifying with the rifle every year for qual, you do your 2 weeks, you shoot your qual, and you don't touch another rifle or you don't touch another handgun until the next qualification, you shouldn't be teaching anybody.
Hmm. That makes a lot of sense. And
You shouldn't
I've
be
seen
teaching.
this, from other branches. James is Team Army. I've seen this from other branches as well.
Right.
You know, yes. And it's so interesting because I've had some customers to call and they'll go ahead and throw that in my face. Oh well, I'm a Marine, or now I don't get too many calls from Marines really. I get a lot of calls like from Army or Navy or whatever
Mhm,
else. And I'm like, that's the first thing they're saying, as if to say, "Oh, Mrs. Trouble, can you just let me slide on by?" And I'm like, "Nah, come on over here, because I don't
mhm,
know what your MOS
mhm,
was." And nine
mhm.
times out of ten, you're really good and efficient with rifles, but not so
Yeah,
much pistols.
the
And so,
handguns is the issue. Yeah, the
yes,
handguns are
so
the
that
issue.
handgun piece is important. And then also just being a service person of any sort. You're taught to
Mhm,
use the firearm in a certain way,
mhm.
whereas a civilian taught to shoot. according to this law and this rule,
Right,
regulation here, which is going to be different than someone who's serving.
right,
So that's another thing that I always like to push, because I'm like, hey, look, you got to know how to do this as a civilian. Life
right.
as a civilian, that adjustment for you guys, I know I've been told, at least by many, even my own husband, that it was an adjustment to be a civilian and not be in service anymore for certain
Mhm,
things. So yeah, I mean, really, being an instructor, like you said, if you can't break it down, then maybe you need to find an instructor to help your family members first. And
mhm,
then you kind of revisit with them once they've gotten some skill, you know?
right, yeah,
Yeah.
'cause there's so much there's so much about using a firearm, about understanding the firearm itself, why you're even shooting the firearm, right? What is the purpose of it to begin with? Why do you have
Mhm.
it? Why do you want to use it? What are you purchasing it for? Then you have, does it feel good in your hand? Does it, is it too big? Is it too small? Recoil too much for you? Is it the proper caliber? Is that the caliber you want to use? Um, and then how often do you train with it, right? How often are you going to be
Right.
training? And I'm sorry, I love my Marines, die hard, but like you said, rifles,
Yeah.
great. But when it comes to
Hmm.
handguns, unless you are a instructor or a coach and you have a requirement, or ammo tech, because they a technician, because they have to also qual every year because they have to escort hazmat.
Hmm.
You don't touch a handgun unless you're maybe a sergeant, definitely a staff NCO, an E6 or above. So
Hmm.
all those years you spent as a junior Marine or an NCO before you even touched a handgun. Now, if you got out as an NCO and you never shot a handgun, yes, the fundamentals apply. They cross over, sight alignment, sight picture, et cetera, but it's a completely different firearm.
Yeah.
You know, the firearm, the rifle weighs more than your trigger pressure. With a handgun, the amount of pressure you put on your trigger weighs more than the gun. Right?
Yes.
You out here floating out in the abyss, you trying to, natural arc of movement got you doing all this. There's so many things that go into the transition from a rifle to a handgun that people don't understand.
Yeah. It's amazing because you're right. People will try, they'll pick it up and they think they know what they don't because they've shot rifle. One of my
Mhm,
favorite things I notice is this.
mhm,
That little cock to the side of the head. I'm like, yeah, you've been training with rifles, right? And they're like, yeah, how do you know? Oh, because your
yeah, oh,
head told me. Yeah. that's that's the favorite part about that. And they're like, oh
mhm,
wow, you picked up on that, huh? Yes, I did.
mhm,
I noticed it.
mhm,
So when it comes to the whole thing about all this information being out there to us now, the media is doing a really good job of, like you said, the 2A movement, the whole thing
mhm,
about protecting our Second Amendment. I noticed that NRA is doing a lot of women. They opened up the NRA women's division.
mhm,
So and,
mhm. I saw
NRA is
that.
our biggest voice, yeah. And then they also have women of color that they're headlining and things like that as firearm instructors. And
Mhm,
so I think that also really did help spur, people's perception of
mhm,
firearm owners and what they look like now and who's owning them and things like that. Um, I do still notice certain stares when I go into the range and I have a student that's maybe Arabic, or I have a student that is Indian, or even if I have like a Russian student or something, like
mhm,
immediately people's mindset or how they're looking at the student,
mhm,
it's kind of like, what's going on over here, I just want to add that, Americans look like everything, and that's
mhm,
just one of the things. Like, just because their family is from this place or that place doesn't make them any less American. And that's one of the
right,
things that we have to realize as peoples. So it's the American way of life, and
right.
everybody that's here wants to be involved in it. And that's one of the things. In America, we shooting guns.
Mhm, mhm, and let's not forget our Americans with disabilities, because they be rocking it out here too.
They sure do.
They
Yeah. So
Because
it's
I
it's
see them and I'm like, "Yes, get that."
yes, it's just a way of life, and it's one of those
Mhm,
things where we're not out here trying to unalive people. That's not the goal. The goal is, our Second Amendment right to be able to bear arms just because we need to, just in case, because we need to even the odds of what it might look like against us.
Right.
So, any of those out there who wants a little more clarification about why people maybe conceal carry, that's really it. That's really it
Mhm.
in a nutshell. We need to be able to be our first line of defense because, yeah, we can call the police, but it will take them moments to get there, however long that may be, depending on where you are. And I'm here to tell you guys, and Monique could definitely agree to this, that seconds count. So those minutes
Mhm.
waiting for the police, we need to be able to know how to do something for ourselves in
Mhm.
case things, go bad.
Mhm.
So that's one of the reasons, the main reason why all of us are pretty much agreeing about being able to bear arms and having a
Mhm.
concealed carry permit, even if you don't believe in having a firearm while you're out and about, so getting a concealed carry, but you want to at least have something for the home, it's still the
Right.
same concept,
Yeah.
still the same. Yeah. Someone said get
I
a
said,
45 ACP.
these 45 lovers. One of my boys, Silas, he's a
Yes,
45 lover too. I get it. I hear you. I'm
me
gonna
too.
try my little Glock 9. It's all right. Proper place proper placement.
Yes,
What we always talk about, Sheena, proper placement gets you every time.
yes, yes. It definitely does. It definitely does. And I feel like the 22 gets a lot of, backlash about it not being enough stopping power. But I just
Mm,
want y'all to think
mm,
about this. Does anybody want hot lead in their body? I mean,
no.
I don't care if it's a little teeny little
Mhm,
thing or not. And that's the thing. Like, if our goal is to end the threat, nine
mhm,
times out of ten, somebody feel that hot spark in their body, they ain't gonna keep coming for you. You
mhm,
might take a couple of more rounds, but at least they're not
mhm.
gonna keep coming for you. So I feel
Unless
like
they
the
hopped
22
up
is
on bath
that route.
salt. Remember how that went.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Somebody
Yeah,
said a 10 millimeter.
yeah. Tell
Yeah,
10 millimeters not common. It's a good
no.
round. It's just not very common, yeah.
Hmm.
How's your pockets looking paying for those 10 millimeters though?
Yes. Yes, I was just about to say that. Your pockets
Yeah.
ain't happy with them 10 mils, but yeah, that's why I'm gonna stick to my 9 because I got like a nice little medium here.
Mhm,
Got 10 mil, got 45. I like those
mhm,
things too for a little bit of target
mhm,
practice, just to say I did
mhm.
it and I can. But
Right.
but other than that, 9 mil pretty much all day as far as the caliber of choice.
Mhm. Yeah,
Just
for
because
me,
it's in a hmm.
same, same.
Yeah.
Got quite a
So
few 9 mils under my belt
yeah. We're not going. How many students do students ask you like how many guns do you have?
all the time.
Do
All the
you
time.
answer?
I just say it's enough to get me through. That's what it
Exactly.
is.
Exactly. I'll be like, that's my stuff right there. I'm gonna keep that one to
Mhm.
myself.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you don't need to know that. You don't need to know that. It's too much
exactly.
information.
And so, Asia, have
Mhm.
you joined yet? I don't know if you were able to get on yet because I know she said she had to run around a bit and she was on her way home. But Asia, if you are here, just put in the chat box area something so I know you're here and I'll be able to switch places with you and Mo.
What do you
Okay.
which one are you talking about that you hear a lot about?
Deandra, I believe.
Yeah, Ed Edge Hill? Which
Yeah.
would just clarify for me.
Oh, 380.
380? Yeah,
Okay.
380 is like just a small version of a 9 mil. It's still good caliber. All of them are good
Mm-hmm.
calibers. Um, I am not a caliber bully. I believe as long as you have proper placement, you will get the job done. Um,
Mm-hmm.
380 is good. And you have some nice compact size firearms that are 380. So, like Smith& and Wesson has, some compact size 380s. I think what is it? The EZ, and then you have
Mm-hmm.
the
The
M&P,
shield.
the Shield.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. They just come out with another Smith& and Wesson just came out with another, handgun.
Oh, I don't know. I gotta check it out.
They did. They just came out with one. I'm blanking on it right now. Racking the slides. So the EZ, the one that I just talked about, that one is, um,
Easy.
slide yeah, it's easy. That's why they call it the easy, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's easy to
Yeah.
rack. Um, it
Mhm.
I will say though, you have to take into consideration with the Smith& and Wesson EZ is that it has a grip safety.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so what it offsets with you having to rack the slide, you have to now have a stronger grip. And the point of having the easy slide is so if someone has problems with their hands, that it's not hard to rack, but then that kind of counteracts with the grip. Because if you already don't have a strong grip and you're not depressing the grip safety, the gun doesn't go off. So that's something you have to consider too as well when you're purchasing your firearms.
Yeah, I think that's the only biggest issue I had with that particular gun. Besides that, I do love the way that it shoots.
Mhm,
And I think it's just more so a period of breaking it in as well. I've had a few students that bought it brand new and they came to the range with me right after. But then after they got at least a good 500 rounds through, it became a lot
mhm,
easier for them to use.
mhm.
And they
Yeah,
got used to having that backstrap safety.
mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, because it's kind of bulky. It's kind of big.
It
It's
is,
not,
right? It's not hard to
yeah.
miss, but also consider your hand size too, right? And if you're not
Hmm.
practicing, especially when you're drawing the firearm, if you're not practicing to have that high firm pistol grip and you grab too low, it doesn't depress because the widest part of it is on the bottom and the thinnest part is on the top. So you have to get a solid grip on it to make sure it's depressed from the fire. But yeah, and it is a pretty cool gun. I like the gun. I definitely like the gun. That's just something that
Mhm.
you have to think about when purchasing is the actual ergonomics of the firearm to make sure that is something
Right.
that you are, considering when you purchase.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that. I definitely do like it though. And just know that it's going to take a period of time to break in. And that's been my
Mhm,
experience by a couple of students that if at first you may have problems with it not chambering or having a hard time racking it back just because of that placement. And if you're noticing that, just be conscious of how you're gripping it in the back. And eventually
mhm,
it'll break in and it'll work just nice and smooth
mhm.
from there. Yeah.
Repetition, repetition.
Yes. Definitely repetition. So one of
Mhm,
the things that I'm also seeing with the media is we're having a lot of YouTube channels, like what we're doing here,
mhm,
having about knowledge about firearm use and the safety and things like that. So I think that also is contributing to the whole the stereotypes, debunking them, because people are getting that knowledge out there now. It's a little bit more mainstream, and so it's
mhm,
really helping the gun community where people are expecting that when they buy a gun that they can't just put it out of sight out of mind, that they do have
yeah,
to lock it away, little
mhm,
details like that that are actually major
mhm,
consequences to us not properly handling a firearm. So right now, do you have some different channels out there that you watch often or you like a lot?
um, So, I'm horrible with titles, girl. But I'll once there are a couple of channels and I can't remember the names at the moment just because I really just see it pop up, I watch it, and it depends on who's
Mhm.
on the screen, and I'm like, "All right, there's my channel." Don't ask me
Mhm.
for a name. But yeah, I have 3 in particular. More so when I watch for incidences, like the ones that critique and analyze when there is a shooting and they look at the whole scenario, so if it's caught on video,
Mhm.
right? And then they're like, "Okay," so they play the video out and then they narrate. They're like, "This is what happened. This is why this happened. This should have if the person had done this, this, and this may have went a different way." So I like to see those
Yeah.
scenarios just for my personal reference, only because, I wanna make sure that I'm kinda in line with what my frame of thought to protect myself and my family and my home and my whatever the case may be, is in line with what those assessments are, what they're analyzing in the situations that
Right.
people come across. Um, I can't remember the
Yeah,
name.
those
This is
channels
crazy
are, and that's
because
okay. I mean,
in
even
my
that,
it's in my brain right now, but I can't
it's
remember the name.
okay. It's
So
okay. I mean, honestly,
it was a
what you were
question.
explaining was
Mhm,
perfect. Oh yeah, I see.
mhm,
So what you were saying was perfect though. That is some of the things that I'm looking for too, like those scenarios to help me with like, what happened based on what somebody, had done or didn't do or whatever the case
mhm,
is. And then I'm also looking at a lot of things about the law, like specifically this
Mhm.
particular law was able to defend this person, or because this
Mhm.
law existed, they couldn't get away with that thing.
Right.
So those type
Mhm.
of channels do help me kind of navigate. Do you want to take a swing at this question here about the 22 long rifle or 22 Magnum for everyday carry? They are
Yeah.
so cheap. A lady can buy a 22 revolver for 100 bucks.
The
Uh,
revolver people are gonna hate me. Alright. I think my mentor is gonna look at me sideways too. Uh, I am a handgun lover. I feel like revolvers, and again, this is just my personal preference. Personal preference, guys, personal preference. I think revolvers are good backup guns. I feel like if you're going to carry one, it should be a backup. For me,
mm,
my reasoning behind that is revolvers extremely, extremely reliable. For them to not fire on you is slim to none, more likely on the none side. However,
mhm,
you only have a certain capacity, right? If your intent to protect yourself requires you to shoot a certain amount of rounds because you're going to continue to shoot until the threat is no longer there. If after, well, you shouldn't be, if you clear out your revolver and you ain't hit nothing, that's a whole different problem. A whole different problem. However, I want to make sure that I have enough rounds to eliminate whatever threat there is or stop whatever threat there is. And if there are multiple threats, what then? Right.
yes, my thought
Because
process.
if there's one criminal, you can probably guarantee there might be another one, right?
Mm,
So as a backup firearm on the ankle, absolutely. Um,
mm,
so for and then you guys just talking about a 22. Girl, stop.
yeah.
No, I would play with you like that. But magnums are good, 22 long rifles are good. The thing about the 22 round is because it's so small and they're finicky. They
Hmm.
finicky and they jam for me, they jam a lot. Because we train with them all the time. And federal, I use Aguila, I use all of them, but they are very, very finicky. So as far as reliability, that is my issue with the 22s. Not
Yeah,
that
it
they the
really is.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the round itself as a defense round. My problem is their reliability is not where I would feel comfortable carrying that day to day. So if it's not a
Yeah.
380 or higher, not messing with it. Just because of the reliability piece, not because it's incapable of doing what it's supposed to do, because it does. Because it's also rifle rounds, right?
Mhm.
So it does what it's supposed to do. It's just that it's way too finicky for my comfortability. I don't carry it.
Yeah, I have to
Mhm.
agree with you about that. That's my thing there. The reliability of it all. Global Blog did say maybe we should pull out a Smith and Wesson 500.
Me and you
Nobody
gonna
ready
have
for
beef
that.
there, Glock 45. It's all right. I
You're
respect
right.
your choices.
Yes. But yeah, no, the 22, honestly, that's my biggest gripe with it is that the 22 long rifle that's mostly what I'm dealing with. I'm not dealing with the revolver portion of things for
Mhm,
the most part. But the long rifle round, that one definitely is a little bit, finicky. It's glitchy, if you ask me.
mhm,
It's definitely something that really drives me crazy because I'm like,
mhm.
I was just trying CCI ammunition. It was working great. Now
Right.
but now I'm using it again like a couple of weeks later. Now it's not
Mhm.
working so great. So now let me go
Right.
check out some Federal or Winchester or something
Mhm.
and let's just do this all over again, figure out which one's working good.
Right. Because today you wanna eat it, tomorrow you don't wanna eat it. What's going on? What's going on?
Exactly. Exactly. I noticed just putting a little oil on my ramp though really
Mhm.
helps. It helps
Yeah.
a lot of times while I'm in a moment of doing training to get a couple more rounds through.
Mhm.
So that might be just the thing that people might have to do is just carry a little oil with them at the range and put a little bit on their ramp.
And clean your guns, guys. Clean your guns. Don't be offenders of not cleaning.
Yes. 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 But I mean, even if you're there at the range for a good while, you get a lot of, build up,
Carbon,
you
yeah,
know,
carbon. Mhm.
So after a couple of rounds or so, you might have that issue.
Yeah.
So yeah. But when it comes to that 500, he's right. It's definitely overkill. I definitely don't
Mhm.
recommend that one. And honestly, for me, I just did it just to say I was able to shoot it, and now I'm not interested in shooting it again. Honestly, I'm not.
Right.
I'm really not. Honestly, it's one of those things where all those huge rounds out there, your 50 cal and all this stuff, I'm just like,
Mhm.
for what? For what? I have no
I
interest in that.
I shot a snub nose revolver. I will never shoot that thing ever again in my life. No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Yeah. Oh
Mm-mm.
my gosh, that's too crazy though that even, people they just make the most craziest guns. I'm like, why was this even invented? What was this for? Like,
The recoil on thing, because snub nose small,
hmm
but the recoil on that thing would have you thinking you're shooting a desert eagle for what?
yeah,
Right. So yeah,
yeah,
it does. Mm-mm.
yeah. That's just that's diabolical. I
I
don't
love
got
my
time.
revolver heads though. I love you guys. I love my revolver heads.
Yes. But yeah, I'm with you on the capacity though. Like that's one
Mhm.
reason why I'm out. Cause honestly, when I'm out and I don't do the whole revolver situation because I'm like, yeah, the amount of rounds. Of course, accuracy is gonna be there, but people
Mhm.
move. Your adrenaline is rushing, and those are things people have to take in consideration. And then it also could be more than one attacker. So, it's out of luck if you miss, 3 rounds and you only have three more to actually be accurate with. And then there's another attacker. So
Right. Right.
yeah,
I hope
but
you
that's
got a flamethrower for your backup at
yes,
that point.
yes. Um, so when I will say though, as far as future gun owners, if you guys are here and are not a gun owner right now, definitely stay tuned to this channel. Is going to give you guys lots of good tips. You haven't already checked out some of our other footage. Mo and I definitely go and do a whole bunch of interviews with some of women in the community helping others. And we're always looking for others to actually join to be interviewed. So if you are in the DMV area and interested in being a guest on the show, definitely send an email to shootthesh@gmail.com, and it's three H's on it. Okay. So we are looking for more women to do interviews with and also even on our lives. So it's one
Mhm.
of those things where this is dear at heart for us to make sure you guys are empowered and you have all the skills and tools you need to be safe out there. I do want to leave you guys with the whole notion that the gun community is making so many more strides as far as getting education to you guys, making sure you guys are aware about firearm safety, how to protect your babies from guns and with guns. Meaning that, if you have teenagers that are, enthusiasts about guns because now they play Call of Duty or whatever the games, shooting games out there, now they're all interested in guns. Oh, they got this thug, best friend or whatever, and they all carrying guns illegally, whatnot. But how do you teach your teenagers to be safe with guns? We talk about a lot of those things and so many other places on social media as well. And even if you guys are in the DMV area, definitely check us out for instruction for myself, Trouble Defense, for Monique, Lioness Defense. We'll be happy to help you guys. But I wanted to make sure you guys knew that even in the gun community, how we're making these strides, you can see the same things and the same goals in the efforts that it took for driving to be more safe. If you're of a certain age, you may have noticed that, not as many people are, at least dying from car accidents as they once were. People are buckling up, they're putting seatbelts on, things like that. Um, when it comes to the efforts of smoking, you may not see an influx of smoking in certain areas or certain age groups because there's so many campaigns out there about not smoking cigarettes, is what I'm speaking of. And then even not doing drugs. There's so many other campaigns that we've seen over the years that has helped. And so now the gun community is making those strides with these type of channels like ours to be able to help that whole notion that things can change with proper education. And another thing that we're really striving for is mental health change because Mo
Mhm.
can definitely attest to me that mental health problems is definitely more of the problem that we're seeing with our gun problems.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So,
Mhm.
do you have any other closing remarks that you'd like to add in there?
No, just well, yeah, everybody that has viewed it has logged in and viewed is here for a reason. Um, my biggest thing is educate yourself. And if you plan to be a gun owner, be a responsible gun owner. And also be an educated and skilled gun owner. Don't buy the gun and put it down, and then the first time you use it is when you need it. Train, right? We're out here, get the training, understand what it is that you're doing, understand what you can and cannot do when it comes to, legally defending yourself with deadly force, because there are parameters that you have to meet.
Hmm.
Um, don't just be out here, okay, I got a permit, I can do whatever. No, no. Educate yourself, train, get
Hmm.
get the skills, get the skills. Because when I tell you, under duress, under stress, under adrenaline, you could be shooting at 100% and you're dropping 30-40% in your accuracy off the rip if something happens, if you come into a situation where you need to defend yourself, because that's just a natural human reaction to
Yeah.
an intense situation, right? So do the training. So when it comes time, your body's already going to know what to do. You just need to make the decision at that time whether you're going to pull the trigger or not, plain and simple. So
Yeah.
get the training and educate yourself. Know what you can and cannot do, where you're at in your state, in the neighboring states, because not every state allows you to come from your state to their state and have a gun. Like the DMV, you can't go in any three of them, right? Leave Virginia, go to DC. I'm a felon. You know,
Yeah.
do it. So just understand that there's an educational piece and a skill set that come behind being a gun owner.
Hmm. Well, thank you for that. You're absolutely right in all of that. So it looks like Asia may not have been able to join, so that's all right. I'm gonna get her on here anyway. I'm gonna get her here in another time. But she has lots of good insight out there. Another woman instructor in the area that's provided excellent service. So I definitely want to definitely tap into her brain and help you guys get a little bit of that knowledge, especially if I have people on here who is in the security field or even
Mhm.
considering the security field, and especially a person who may be a woman, maybe in the security field or trying to get into it. So I'm going to pick her brain another day.
Okay.
So thank you so much for joining today, because honestly you always have such great insight. I love working with you. You guys, she's such a good, easy person to work with. So I will definitely see you guys again very soon. And definitely thank you so much for staying tuned. And Mo, thank you so much for giving us all your insight here. It's been very valuable.
Thank you, Shannon. Thank you for having me again.
You're welcome. You're welcome always. So I will see you guys next week, Wednesday at about 12 for a little check-in for any of those who may be available in your lunch break. And then I'll also see you guys again next week at 8 p.m., same time next Friday, for another great discussion. So hopefully you guys can chime in then. So when it comes to this thing, we're gonna work on this together, moving through life, being more
Love
aware
you too.
and educated. And God bless you guys as well. See you
All
guys
right.
soon. Have a good night.